composing for film, TV, and video games for sci-fi and fantasy. I'm Anne Cesiri. I am Director of Film and Television Music for BMI, and I'm very excited that you all are here. And I'm going to start with Jim Dooley. Jim Dooley started his career with collaborating with world-renowned composer Hans Zimmer in 1999. He has since gone on to compose all episodes of ABC's Pushing Daisies, which won him the Emmy in 2008. And just talk about your background, how you started, what made you get into scoring. Yeah. Jim.
Okay, I'll start. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jim. All right, under 18 years of age.
They warned us.
Right,
Yeah.
warned. I'm literally warned right here. Watch my mouth. But yeah, so it's weird. I'm the first male in 3 generations to not be a New York City fireman. So naturally, my parents were like, "Don't be a musician. We don't want to visit you on the subway system." That's what my mom said at the last panel she made. Anyway, so after I went to NYU for undergrad, I did want to get into film scoring after I saw a short film based on a cue ball rolling down a hallway in a student film in high school, and he put the Batman soundtrack to it, the Elfman one. I was like, "This is the most interesting cue ball I've ever seen," and I was like, "I want to do this for a living. I don't know what this is." So then after that, went to NYU for composition, finished that. Ended up in debt, and then went to USC to go to more private schooling with the film scoring program. But it was like the all-star cast of your kind of musical dreams of Elmer Bernstein, David Raxon, Christopher Young. Just you can imagine what information that you could get from these kind of guys and who are actively working in the scoring business. Summer after that was unemployed, living in Burbank, caulking ceilings, and then I ended up getting a call as a result of both my connections through NYU and USC to be interviewed as a technical director, I guess, tech monkey, for Hans Zimmer. Did that for 2 years, and then after that he invited me to stay as a composer at what is now called Remote Control Productions, formerly Media Ventures. I've been there that's had my 10-year anniversary, Gladiator first one. I've never fully recovered from Pushing Daisies. It was twice as long, and I had half as much time. So it's a 6-day turnaround, 42 minutes of music, plus we went to orchestra. So the 7th day, I didn't rest. I spotted the next week's episode and recorded the orchestra at night. I had 3 hours in between to kind of relax.
So you're basically eating and scoring.
That was it. 18 hours a day. Writing. I had to do 8.5 minutes a day, 30 seconds an hour. One night I had to do the sound design, which was good. But it was a weird thing. They sent me the scripts in advance, and it never really made sense to me until I saw it. It was only the combination of the colors, the narration, the set design, the artwork. I didn't get it off the page entirely. Yes, I can read, but I didn't. Pushing Daisies was really the summation of all the talents of people involved from all the parts of the show. And only when I got to see it really at the end did I'm like, oh, that's what you mean. And Brian is Fuller. We was both of our bosses. was on the way in Heroes. He's an encyclopedia of scoring, which makes it difficult. Yeah. So, like, there was one episode, I've said this before in panels, where he's like, "Okay, do you know there's a scene in Poltergeist 2 that Phoebe Cates is talking about her dead dad?" Yeah, or like, he's like, "Okay, there's this episode takes place in like a New England lighthouse," so he's like, "I want jug band horror." Every week it was a different thing. The first one, the pilot was really difficult. The second one took place, the Dandelion Car Factory. The third one was our Halloween episode, which was entirely different. There was more thematic material in one episode of Pushing Daisies than like the movie I did, like Obsessed, has like 2 themes.
Right.
Each episode of Pushing Daisies had to have like 3 or 4 new thematic materials.
And don't
required.
the
Like,
characters have
and it was
themes as well?
every character has a theme.
I mean, yeah.
And not only that, every character has an instrument, which was, at the time we got canceled, I was running out. It was like, I mean, everything from banjos to saxophone, like Kristen Chen was, was always a saxophone. Ned and Chuck, I want to call her Anna, sorry. And then Chuck always had their love theme, which was melancholy because it could never come to fruition, which is why it's not like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is a very complete tune. The Daisies tune is very fractured and only kind of meanders up and down a little bit. It never really fully reaches. But the father has a tune, so every time a character would talk about somebody, they would have their thing.
Okay.
So it was the most challenging thing I've ever done, and I don't want to be challenged like that again. There is a comic book series of Pushing Daisies to continue the story, because for those of us who want to know what happens, what the lockets mean, and is there a treasure, anyway, the story is coming to you very soon.
I watched the episode with Kristen Chenoweth, where she just busts out into Hopelessly Devoted to You, and so you wrote that arrangement. And did you work with her directly, or did you work on the arrangement and then it was sent to her?
No, we did all these things in tandem. I had to do, in addition to writing that week's episode, for whatever the pre-record was for Kristen, whatever, maybe 2 months in advance, I'd be working on Hopelessly Devoted, during the pilot. Eternal Flame was being done at the end of the first season, so we knew that these things were happening in advance. And we worked together. Kristen came up with an idea. It was crazy. She made a disc of songs for Brian Fuller, said, these might work in the show. And so I got a CD of she's like, okay, this is me doing Eternal Flame. She's like, with my friend, the piano player. I'm like, he's actually quite good. I'm like, who's this guy? She's like, oh, it's Marvin Hamlish.
Okay.
I'm glad I said he was good. We definitely worked together a lot. She's so fast. I mean, I had to the arrangement would be done, she'd walk in, she'd do it in 1 or 2 takes, and then walk out and it'd be just done. Like Birdhouse and Your Soul, even with the very complicated 2-part melodies, just in and out. And then the opening of season 2, I had to write an aria for her to sing. I said, well, what do you want? She's like, well, Glitter and Be Gay by Leonard Bernstein. I'm like,
it's a hard aria.
Right, okay.
It's really hard.
So just something like Candide.
Right.
No problem. Okay. Give me a week?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the challenges of the show.
She wants to hit those high notes. It's one of the highest arias.
For somebody who's under 5 feet tall, that's great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you also brought a clip. We're going to show the clip with music because we're running out of time.
Sure.
Again, this could be a 2-hour panel.
We'll show Plastic Kiss if that's the one that's on.
And can you tell us?
Olive.
Oh, is it Young Olive?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This was temped with a pop track. Oh, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry, you do have Plastic Kiss.
Okay, Plastic Kiss. This was one of my favorite pieces I had to write. I wanted to have the love theme come in like a Tchaikovsky ballet. I don't know if it's fully achieved it, let me know. But essentially, we wanted to make it so that in their world that everything stops and their love is the only thing between them before they think they're going to die.
Oh.
Sayonara. This was the end, all over again.
Goodbye.
Did not like to knit in public, but he often left the house with the needles in his pocket should the opportunity to rib stitch a ski cap present itself.
It goes on, obviously. The music doesn't stop through the show, so there's no good place to stop. But something like that, what you just watched, would probably, I'd have to, like an hour and a half.
You'd have an hour and a half to write.
Something like that, yeah.
Wow.
Fully
and
produced,
the transitions, too. I mean, amazing. Hey, but you won the Emmy.
Yes.
Right?